All right, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel. So I kind of like teased that I was going to do something about beach reads, but beach reads is just such a broad term and I didn't know how to do it. So I went into Pinterest and I searched for like beach reads bingo. So it kind of like gave me like a list of things, and then I only picked books that are physically in my house right now. So if like a book is loaned out, I did not pick it. So let's get started. So first is Book Set at a Beach, and I selected Beach Read by Emily Henry. So this is about a girl who is writing a book with kind of her nemesis next door at a beach house in Michigan. So I like to think that they're maybe in Holland, which is where I'm from. And yeah, I love everything that Emily Henry writes. This is like 5 out of 5 stars. Fast read, good romance. Love this one. So, Book Set at a Beach. And then for tearjerker, like maybe you don't think about that as a beach read, but I feel like a beach read is kind of anything that you can read really fast and like you either don't get distracted because it's so good, or you can like come back to it easily because you're so into it. So I did The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. So this was made into a movie. The movie was pretty good, but this book just made me bawl. And I actually have read most of his other books and I don't even really like them. This was just like a special, like I love this book. So it's about like two teenagers that are like in a cancer support group, and it's their love story, and it's so good. And the next is a book that inspired a movie. So I went with a book that I really liked and the movie that I loved, and that's Crazy Rich Asians. So this is I read the books first. So there's 3 books in the series, and it's just about like the most wealthy people. So Rachel Chu agrees to go on a summer trip with her boyfriend that she's like really in love with, and she does not realize that he's like one of the most wealthy, I think Singapore. I'm pretty sure they're from Singapore. Like he's so wealthy, like just unimaginable wealth. So the book is amazing and the movie is so cool to watch, and I really hope that they're making more because the movie was so good. So Crazy Rich Asians. And then for mystery, this is probably my number one recommended book. Like it's so good. So Night Swim by Megan Golden. So this is the story of a podcaster who does like deep dives into mysteries, and so she's like back in her hometown doing a podcast on, I think it's a 10-year-old murder mystery, and of course while she's there more things happen. It's so good. It's so fast moving. I think I read this all in one sitting, and it's 344 pages. It just was so good. So this is like, I've never heard anybody say they didn't like it. 5 out of 5, like maybe 10 out of 5 stars. Just so good. And so that was the mystery. And then an old favorite, I just picked one that didn't really fit any of the other categories that is also one of my most recommended, and that is The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. So this is one of my favorite books ever. This is a one-sitting book for me. This is a story of a girl who has Asperger's, and so she's not great at relationships, and she decides that she wants to get better at romance, so she hires a male escort to get better at sex and relationships. And it is so funny to like see them interact, like how blunt she is. It's great. Like the whole way through is so good, and it's steamy. I highly recommend this whole series. It's pretty much like 3 standalone books that are like in the same world, but The Kiss Quotient, so good. And then for a celeb book club pick, so there was a lot like that I would have picked, but the only one, like one of the only ones that I have like on my shelf is How to Walk Away by Catherine Center. I have read 4 or 5 books from Catherine, and they're almost all one sit reads for me too. They're just like, they read really well. I really like the characters. So How to Walk Away is a story of a couple who is in a plane crash, and like the injuries that are involved. So like Maggie is the main character, and she's in a plane crash with her boyfriend, and then it's kind of like how their relationship falls apart after the plane crash, and then like new romance, and yeah, so good. So I love this one. Things You Save in a Fire is another great one. So Catherine Center. And then Own Voices author, which I took to be like a memoir. So probably my fastest read memoir ever was Talking as Fast as I Can by Lauren Graham. I am a huge Gilmore Girls fan, and this reads like just as fast as that does. Like it just, and I was always so interested in Lauren Graham, so she has multiple books. They're good, they read fast, but this one's like the most probably about Gilmore Girls, and I think she wrote it during like the Day in the Life reboot. So love this one. Set in Old Hollywood. I feel like most people have already read this book. This has been like hugely trending over the last couple, like it's a couple years old, and I feel like people are still like all over this book. So The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And again, every book of hers is like a good book read, like beach read. They're almost all 5 stars for me. I haven't read all of them. I have some on my TBR list that I'm excited to read. So The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Evelyn Hugo is like a Hollywood movie star. Like, I think that starts like in the 1940s. So like glam. And she is married 7 times, and it's so good. So someone is like interviewing her and going through her life with her. So yeah, it's like there's sad parts, there's deep parts, but it just reads so quickly. That's why I think it's a beach read. So 7 Husbands. And then it said, so it was female spy. I own no books that are about spies, especially not, it would be a beach read. Like I feel like a historical fiction is not necessarily, like Alice Network, that's not really a beach read, that's pretty heavy. So I kind of decided to change it to female detective because I feel like mysteries and thrillers are easy beach reads. So I chose Truly Devious. So this is the story of a girl, oh, what is her name? I don't know what, Stevie Bell. Stevie Bell is the main character. So this is the story of Ellington Academy, which is like an academy that you can apply to. Every student that is admitted has like a very detailed like course of study that they want to do. So our main character, Stevie Bell, is like applied on the premise that she can solve the 50-year-old mystery that took place at this school. So like 50 years ago, there was a murder, and she thinks that she can solve it. So I think there's 4 books right now. This is the first. And I don't know how many more there are going to be, but so good. I love this mystery. I love the characters. I love the school setting, and like a couple books in, we've like kind of solved the mystery, but there's more mystery. So Truly Devious for my female detective. And for friendship, so I immediately thought of Firefly Lane because that's probably my favorite book about friendship. And it would also be a tearjerker. I cried like crazy. Would not recommend the movie. I did not like the movie. Like I stopped it immediately and did not finish it just because they changed so much of the premise. But I don't own that. So I chose The Lying Game by Ruth Ware. So not to be confused with The Lying Game show. This is a story of like high school students that like they graduated and they like fell apart, and now they are like somebody SOS's in their back, and so someone was murdered or died, and they're kind of trying to solve the mystery. and a bunch of secrets come out. So Ruth Ware has very good, like, easy mysteries, or like fast-paced mysteries. And so The Lying Game is one that was about friendship and maybe being not a great friend. And then I have a classic retelling. And so for that, I went with Neon Gods, which is a Hades and Persephone retelling. So this is like Hades and Persephone, like set now in New York City. This is a quick read, very steamy book. And so this, like, Katie Robert, it has, I believe, 3 books out right now. So it's this, Electric Idol, which is on my TBR, and then Wicked Heart, I think, was the 3rd one that was just released. So these are like Greek god retellings and very, very steamy. Quick read. The next is an adult fairy tale. So I chose Uprooted by Naomi Novik. This is one of my favorites. I love fairy tale retellings. Like, that would be my genre if I had to read something for the rest of my life. And so I'm not even sure which fairy tale this is like a retelling of, because it's more, I feel like it's more like Eastern Europe, like Russia, perhaps. So the main character is chosen by her village to basically be like sent to this ruler who needs a girl I think it's every 10 years, they like give a girl. And you have no idea what he does with them. And so she's like given as a servant to this guy. There's magic. There's all sorts like cool lore. So, and the main character is like clumsy and like kind of crazy, and she's just always pissing off the guy that she's supposed to be serving, and like there's a little love story. It's great. I love this book so much. So this is like 10 out of 5 stars for me. I should reread it because I love it so much. So Uprooted. And then I crossed out so many things. So Royal Read. I like thinking of like current royals. I would probably choose Red, White, and Royal Blue, which is a very cute story. I do not own that. So I went with Daughter of the Pirate King, which is by Trisha Levenseller. And so there's Daughter of the Pirate King and Daughter of the Siren Queen. And they're super fast reads. They're young adult, and I loved it. I would probably read this again because it's so good. And then I have YA fantasy. So I feel like YA fantasy, like Marissa Meyer is probably the queen of that genre. So I have Cinder. So this is the first in the Lunar Chronicles. Cinder is a Cinderella retelling where Cinderella is a cyborg. So she's like part girl, part machine. And there are 3 more in that series. And then there's also like a retelling of Rumpelstiltskin that was just released. And then there's a retelling of The Queen of Hearts. So she is just really great at the fairy tale retellings. This is like a hefty book, but it reads really quickly. Like there's not like a ton of words on a page. And I think I've read some of the audiobooks as well, but it's a great fairy tale retelling. Then I have historical romance, and I don't own very much of this, but so I guess I'm not sure how much of a beach read this is, but I felt like this is the fastest moving of the historical romance like that I have, and that's At the Water's Edge. So this is set in like 1940s, so like World War II, like it's actively going on, and this girl is dragged along on an adventure to go and try to find the Loch Ness Monster with her boyfriend. And I mean, it's not like super lighthearted, but it is so well written. It reads so quickly. Sarah Gruen is also the author of Water for Elephants. So if you like that and that movie, I would say this is better because I've read the book and seen the movie, and I love this one. And then we have middle grade. And for middle grade, I will pretty much always choose Nevermore. This is like along the vein of Harry Potter, but like I feel like for a younger audience, even though there's a ton of pages, it reads so quickly. It's such a fun world. So Morgan Crow is the main character, and she finds out that she like was supposed to die. Like she's always been told that she's supposed to die on her 11th birthday. I think it's 11th. Yeah. And then she's like whisked away to a magical world. And then she learns all about this like new world that she didn't know happened and all the rules. And there's like a sinister like magician kind of that is like trying to take them down. So he's kind of like the Voldemort of the Nevermore Society. And there are 4 books. I think there's 4 books out and more coming. So I think it's like similar to most like school books. There's going to be like 1 for every year. So Nevermore. The Trials of Morgan Crow. So good. And then for Unreliable Narrator, again, super popular right now. So Verity by Colleen Hoover. And for beach reads, like most Colleen Hoover books are beach reads. They read fast. Mostly they're romance. This is, I guess there's romance, but this is twisted. Like when you close the book, you have no idea what's true, what happened. Like, you know what happened, but this story is amazing. So if you haven't read it yet, this is a great beach read. Verity. I feel like I can't even like tell you that much about it, but definitely an unreliable narrator. You don't know who's telling the truth. A book about books. So if I owned it, I would choose Book Lovers because that is a new release. It is by Emily Henry. I love it so much. I read it in like 2 sittings just because it was a little bit bigger, but love it. I've been looking forward to it. But I don't own that. So I'm going to go with Sorcery of Thorns, which is by Margaret Rogerson. This book is about a girl who is like being raised in a library where they keep like dangerous grimoires. And one of them is stolen, and so she is like goes racing after it. And there's all sorts of magic. Like you don't know who's right and who's wrong. I love this book so much. So it's like there's books, but these books are like some of them are evil, some have spirits in them. So she's basically like a priestess for the books and like a warrior for the books, like trying to keep them tamed. Seems like a really bad description, but I love this book. So if you like really any kind of fantasy, this is a good one. And then I have A Wedding in a Book. The Hating Game. There's a wedding in this book. It's not their wedding, but this had to be on the list because this is a 1-sit read. I just loaned this to a friend and she read it like in 1 sitting as well. The banter is amazing. The scenes are amazing. I love the characters. There's also a movie. It's not quite as good as the book, but I love it. The wedding's in there too. So yeah, the book's like not about the wedding, but the wedding is a plot point. So there you have that. And the last on the list is a new release. Well, I don't read new releases very quickly. So this is going to go right into my TBR for July, and that is Lessons in Chemistry. So I have not read this yet. I got from Book of the Month. It was like an add-on book, I think, for my birthday. It says historical fiction. Oh, so it's set in like 1960s. So I didn't realize that. So this is about Elizabeth Zott, who is in the 1960s. She's on an all-male team at Hastings Research Institute. And apparently she falls in love with a guy that has to do with chemistry. So I've seen this trending in all sorts of places, so I'm excited to read it. So that is the end of the list because this is a new release. But then I thought maybe I would show you my July, like most of my July TBR, like what I want to get through. that I've also been recommended as beach reads. So for July, I'm not going to do like my random number generator that I normally do. I'm just going to try to read as many like beach reads and like books that I've been really excited to read. So the first is Heartstopper. So this is a Netflix series as well. It's 4 volumes. It's a graphic novel. I've only heard amazing things about this. Like, people will not be quiet about this. So I need to go get the other 3 volumes because I know I'm going to go through it really quickly. But Barnes & Noble only had the first. So Heartstopper. And then Christina Lauren, The Soulmate Equation. I know nothing about this, but I love all their books. Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover. Again, Colleen Hoover. Just always a good beach read. Ugly Love, Colleen Hoover. The Mindfuck series. So this is volumes 1 through 5. And I've heard great things. Apparently it's very spicy. So don't pick this up if you don't like spice. Electric Idol, which is the sequel to Neon Gods. And this is the telling of Psyche and Aphrodite. So I've heard really great things about this love story. The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. I have read many books by Riley Sager, and they're normally very fast-paced, and I like them. So, yay. And then The Hacienda. This one looks pretty ominous. It's like a historical fiction. And I've heard that it's like Mexican Gothic. So I really liked that book, but it also said it was a beach read. So I must read really quickly. The Deal by Elle Kennedy. Bunny by Mona Awad. I feel like this is like a thriller, like a creepy thriller, kind of. After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So again, Taylor Jenkins Reid, I've only read good books from her. So can't wait. And The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. So she wrote To All the Boys I've Loved Before. And I love those books so much. Like perfect, like YA summer. So I think there's 3 books in this series, and it's a Netflix show as well. So I just wanted to get this read before I watch it. All right, so that is my beach reads bingo and the kind of my like TBR, like what I'm aiming to read for July. So yeah, I will be back at the end of June to go over my June list that I read, and then the end of July to tell you how much of these books I actually read. So yay, see you then.